Hey, I'm Hallie, and right now, the U.S. couldn't be clearer in its message to Ukraine. Don't trust Russia. That's even though a top Russian defense official says they are drastically pulling back military forces from Kyiv. But Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby had a bucket of cold water for that claim. Watch.
Has there been some movement by some Russian units away from Kyiv in the last day or so? Yeah, we think so. Small numbers. But we believe that this is a repositioning, not a real withdrawal.
Kirby followed up that the U.S. doesn't know where Russia might be moving those troops. But he's giving this caveat because the U.S. thinks Putin could change his mind at any time. Knowing that, President Biden doesn't seem to be getting his hopes up.
We'll see. I don't read anything into it until I see what their actions are.
Okay, so let's look at what their actions are, right? Right now, check out this map. Russia's holding on to a pretty decent chunk of territory right around Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. You see that in red. These sections with the diagonal slashes, that's where Ukraine is seeing Russian troops. And listen, just because the Ukrainian capital might be getting spared doesn't mean other cities are, like in Mykolaiv, a key port city in southern Ukraine. Look at that. An attack blew a hole. You're looking at it right through the middle of a government building. Officials say 9 people were killed. But here's the thing. There are some signs of hope. Negotiators for Russia and Ukraine met today in Turkey. A source on the Ukraine side tells our team these were baby steps. And Ukraine's delegates laid out what they're calling a system of security guarantees. You might be thinking, OK, what does that actually mean? Here's what it means. They're basically saying they want 11 countries, the 11 you see here, the U.S., Russia, along with France, Israel, China, others, to basically guarantee that they would back up Ukraine if it were threatened. The Russians say they're going to take that proposal back to Vladimir Putin. And that is where we start tonight in Istanbul. Keir Simmons is there live for us. Keir, we're glad to have you with us. And I want to get to those talks in just a second. But first, I want your take on what we're hearing from the Pentagon, right? That Russia Kyiv is not in the clear, but Russia appears to be pulling back at least a small number of troops. Not a significant chunk, and Putin could still change his mind at any minute. But tell me how you see this fitting into the bigger picture of trying with these diplomatic efforts to try to bring this war to an end.
Well, I think you have to go back to that truism of conflict that no plan survives first contact, Hallie. And the simple fact is that it doesn't really matter what Russia's strategy was. In some ways, from a military perspective, if their strategy was to target Kyiv, and they've never admitted that, if that was their strategy, what the Russians know well is that you adapt as a conflict moves along. So I think it's not surprising to hear there in the US, the Americans saying this may just be the Russians manoeuvring rather than really pulling back from Kyiv. And I think all of that's important, because just remember about President Putin that he frames himself as a street fighter, as a survivor, and sees this as a long-term strategy that he is partaking in here, if you like. What I'm trying to say is that he is going to think that certainly politically, if not militarily, he has time to pursue his goals, even if at first his goals can't be reached.
It seems as though Putin is willing, as you say, Keir, to have time on his side on this. These negotiations, these peace talks, if you could call them that, right, just getting started, restarting now for the first time in more than a week.
I lost IFB.
Oh, I don't think Keir can hear me. Keir, can you hear me or no? He cannot. We're going to get back to Keir in just a minute, because we do want to talk more about that security guarantee that Ukraine wants. It does come with some conditions. We're going to get Keir back up in just a second. He is, again, live from Istanbul. This stuff happens. But we want to get here to some breaking news out of Israel tonight now, too, where at least 4 people were killed by a shooter just a few hours ago in an Orthodox neighborhood outside of Tel Aviv. The gunman, who was reportedly Palestinian, was later killed by police. It's the 5th attack in this area. You're looking at the aftermath of it in less than 2 weeks, bringing the total number of people killed in recent days to 10. The string of attacks, a big concern, because the Ramadan, Passover, and Easter holidays are all about to happen right around the same time, and that's expected to make tensions between Israelis and Palestinians even more pronounced. I think that we have Keir Simmons, who is now able to hear me. If you do, Keir, just give me some sort of signal, huh?
I can hear you.
Okay,
I can
very
hear you
good.
Again.
Thank you.
Our talks Our talks resume.
Okay, and they are peaceful, at least on our end, Keir. The question is, are they going to be on the part of Ukraine and Russia? There's this security guarantee that we're talking about here. Ukraine wants it. They say they're willing to commit to neutrality if they get it. But the experts that I've talked to in the last 18 hours or so say that is a really big ask, right, for the U.S., for Russia, for these nations to come to the table to guarantee it.
Yeah, it underscores just how difficult this all is, how difficult where we go from here after these talks in the building behind me here that appeared to have some positive, small glimmers of hope, if you like, because just that one proposal from the Ukrainians, and by the way, Hallie, most of the proposals today came from the Ukrainians, a long-term plan for Crimea, becoming a neutral country, and then that security guarantee you describe. What they want is for NATO countries, and as you mentioned, other countries, 11 in total, to guarantee that they will support them if there is another conflict with Russia, and obviously particularly started by Russia. But how do NATO countries agree to that? What does that mean for the security of those countries themselves? And another important thing to point out, there was an agreement a little like this at the fall of the Soviet Union when Ukraine agreed for the Soviet nuclear missiles to be handed back. And there would be those that will argue that Russia didn't respect that and that agreement didn't work then. So how, even if it can be done, can an agreement like that work? There are so many questions, but that's just some of the questions. There will be many in the days and I suspect months ahead.
Right, with these questions about the security guarantee, questions about these discussions over Ukrainian borders, for example, and this trust issue, because I think the Ukrainians weren't even allowed to shake hands with the Russians, right? I mean, this is starting off on a foot of somewhat of distrust.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why by the end of the day there was so many sort of quasi-positive headlines, to be honest, because, as you say, they didn't shake hands. The Ukrainian foreign minister even warned Ukrainians in the room in there not to drink or eat or touch any services in case they were poisoned. So there really was an enormous amount of distrust, and that's why it's possible to argue that simply the fact that the two sides are talking is good news if you hope for peace. And the suggestion from the Russians that they might now be prepared to see a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin face to face, that of course too is good news, although again I suspect even that meeting will become part of the negotiations. Effectively the Russians will say, okay, well, we'll give you that meeting, but as long as you give us these extras.
Real quick here before you go, can I just ask you really quickly, and soccer fans may be interested in this guy, Roman Abramovich, right? Russian oligarch, owner of Chelsea, the soccer club in the UK, one of many people sanctioned by the West. And Putin is tasking him to be a pretty big part of these negotiations. Explain that. Yeah,
well, that's right. We actually saw him here. We're right outside, as I say, the place where the negotiations were happening. He was in the room. It is another pretty extraordinary aspect of all of this. Roman Abramovich, a billionaire, now sanctioned, now placing himself in the middle of the talks. Apparently, it looks like he was actually invited by the Ukrainians. I guess you could argue that anyone who can help is helpful. Who knows? He's not somebody who gives interviews, so it's very difficult to read exactly the role he's playing.
Keir Simmons, live for us there in Istanbul. Keir, it's really good to have you there. Thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. Here in Washington, more and more pressure is building from Democrats for a Supreme Court justice to recuse himself from cases related to January 6th, with the Senate's most powerful Democrat today throwing his weight behind that call. It's after the revelation of those text messages that Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, sent to then-Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows on January 6th. 22 Democrats in the House and Senate today sent a letter to the Chief Justice and to Justice Thomas looking for answers about whether Justice Thomas may have violated federal ethics law by not recusing himself on a January 6th related case. You know who else is apparently really fired up about this? House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. According to sources in her caucus meeting today, said it's up to an individual justice to decide to recuse himself if his wife is participating in a coup. The Select Committee says they've not decided whether they're going to ask Ginny Thomas to testify or not. But I want to bring in now Leanne Caldwell from Capitol Hill, who's covering all of this. And again, just to remind folks, Leanne, these text messages Ginny Thomas sent to Meadows essentially were calling for Donald Trump not to, concede the race that he legitimately lost. I think it's important when we're having this conversation to also point out Congress can't actually do anything. right? Like, they cannot force Justice Thomas to recuse himself from future January 6th related matters. So what makes this more than just a lot of heat and noise with no flame?
We're not sure it is a lot of flame yet, or if it is just heat or noise, and we'll see how this develops. But you're right, Congress can't do anything. One thing that they are saying is that they are crafting legislation to make the Supreme Court create their own ethics rules, not to tell them what to do, but so the mandate that they would have to do that. There's been lots of complaints, Congress, not only with this, but also with stock trading and conflicts of interest in the past, that there are no rules of the road for the Supreme Court. But pressure is growing, but the pressure is growing mostly on the Democratic side of the aisle, and we'll see if there becomes any bipartisan support for this. Right now, it looks unlikely, but right now they are saying that this is a problem, that Justice Thomas was ruling in cases, in a case, I should say, that potentially impacted his wife, Hallie.
We know that the Select Committee hasn't made a decision yet, right, about whether or not they're going to try to get to talk with her, whether they'd even try to subpoena her to get answers from her. That's still up in the air at this point?
Yeah, it's still up in the air.
Okay.
They met behind closed doors last night, and they said that they're going to continue to talk about it. So there's some debate on both sides of the committee. Some say that they think that it's a distraction from the January 6th Select Committee and their investigation, and others say that it's actually critical for good governance and for the institution of the Supreme Court, and tangentially for the investigation, Hallie.
So still up in the air whether they're going to speak with Jenny Thomas or not. We know that they are expected to speak with somebody else whose name I think most people watching this know, Jared Kushner, former President Trump's son-in-law, an official, of course, member of the administration during the Trump administration. He is, I understand, Leanne, based on some of the sourcing from our team here, expected to testify on Thursday. And today, the White House is saying they are not going to waive executive privilege, meaning they're not going to compel Kushner to keep secret some of the stuff that happened in the administration because of that executive privilege claim. Explain that.
Yeah, that's right. The White House has gotten involved on many issues regarding executive privilege in the January 6th Select Committee, including Trump documents. That's the case that went to the Supreme Court that we're talking about with Clarence Thomas was the only one who dissented. Also, in some of Trump's top advisors, Peter Navarro, Dan Scavino, who have all claimed executive privilege. The White House has intervened and said that they would not grant executive privilege in these instances. And so the White House today is not getting involved at the moment, but they're also not getting involved when Jared Kushner is voluntarily coming before the committee. And I think that's important. He was not subpoenaed, and so he's coming on his own cognition or his own desire to talk to the committee, even though he wasn't in town on January 6th, and his name has not been mentioned a lot when it relates to trying to overturn the election and January 6th, Hallie.
Leanne Caldwell on the Hill. Leanne, thanks so much. So just in the last hour or so, the CDC has followed the FDA and recommended, yes, a second booster dose of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines for Americans ages 50 and older. Both companies have said this next booster is needed for these older folks because research shows protection from that initial booster goes down after a few months. The move comes as we're seeing signs the U.S. may experience yet another COVID wave as this Omicron subvariant known as BA.2 starts to spread. This subvariant, if you will, accounts for more than half of new cases in the U.S., according to the CDC. Dr. John Torres is joining me now. So, Dr. John, let's start with these extra boosters, this fourth shot, essentially, right? The second booster, however we want to parse it there. Pfizer had initially said to the FDA, hey, 65 and older, we think should get them. Moderna had said all adults. What do people need to know about what's happening today on the booster front? What's the most important thing, no matter what age you are?
And Hallie, the most important thing is that booster is now available, but it's not necessarily being recommended. And you're exactly right. Pfizer said 65 and above. Moderna said 18 and above. And the FDA went ahead and without their advisory group, they bypassed them. They said, let's make it 50 and above for both of them because they think that's the age group they want to target for this second booster to try and protect them. And this is based on Israeli data that showed that it offered good protection from dying from COVID of people who got that second booster more than 4 months after getting the first booster. And then with Pfizer, again, 65 and above, but they dropped it down to 50. And so it can be a little bit confusing because both the CDC and the FDA are not necessarily recommending this, but they're saying it is available. And one of the reasons they're doing this is they want people to go ahead and look at their own conditions, their own situations, what's happening with COVID at the time. And like you mentioned, BA2 is starting to take over, and when they need to get that booster, because I think the common thing is we're going to need a booster here at some point. The kind of controversial thing is, when are we going to need it, and do we need it now, Hallie?
Yeah, that's a fair point. They're green lighting it essentially, Dr. John, and that feels like the way to talk about it. Why did they bypass the advisory committee?
So the reason they bypassed the advisory committee is because they have the safety data, both from the vaccines they've given, and these vaccines are not changed from the boosters they had before. So it's not a new vaccine, it's just adding one to it. And looking at the Israeli data as well, they had some pretty solid data there. So they felt they didn't need the advisory committee themselves to meet either the FDA or the CDC. But this is actually causing some controversy because some experts, including those on the advisory committee, has said, you know, we should have been able to sit down, we should have been able to discuss this and make the data very transparent, so everybody has a really good understanding of what's going on. Now, the data is there, the data is solid, but it's not necessarily as easily out there as it would be if these advisory committees meet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
In your professional opinion, how important is it for this second booster shot to be available to these Americans with this BA.2 subvariant seeming to spread now in this country?
You know, I agree with what Dr. Walensky said, where she said it's now available 15 and above. It's important for 65 and above and those with immunocompromised conditions. For that 50 to 65, if you're healthy, that's where it comes into the gray area. And it's going to depend on when the surge happens, if we have a fall surge as well, because remember, these shots seem to be lasting about 4 or 5 months. Getting it now might not work in the fall, and by the fall we might have another one. So it's going to be an individual decision at this point.
Folks should talk with their doctors. I assume that's your advice, huh?
Exactly.
Dr. John Torres, thank you so much. Good to see you. So brace yourself if you live anywhere from the Central Plains east, because major storms look to be headed your way over the next couple days. 20 million people tonight are at risk for these crazy downpours, very high winds, maybe even some tornadoes. 35 million people by tomorrow will be under that same window. We're talking about storms that'll hit in some of the same areas that were already pounded by weather just a week ago. And check out this video just in from Jacksboro, Texas. Surveillance footage of the moment that an EF3 tornado, look at this, tore through an elementary and high school. Oh my gosh, and a stadium too. You can see the power of those winds. It just absolutely annihilates that area. One video, look at this. The principal, that was the principal of the elementary school, running down the hall right before this tornado hits. Oof. Nobody was hurt, thankfully, during this tornado. Kids even got back to class today, but obviously not at this elementary school, which of course still has a ton of damage there. Al, you know, the tornado video, we had talked about this tornado in Jacksboro. It is, I think, scary to watch for people, whether you're used to tornadoes or not, because it shows just how powerful this stuff is, right? I mean, is this what we're expecting again this week?
Well, here's the deal. We're in a transitionary period, going from winter to spring, and we get these storms. And you can see ahead of this storm, we're already seeing rain. Behind it, we've got snow. And so this thing is really going to be ramping up over the next several hours and days as we move forward. So as you mentioned, Hallie, from Des Moines all the way down to Austin, 20 million people at risk for severe weather, strong winds, damaging hail, tornadoes possible tomorrow. Here's what we're really concerned about. 35 million people at risk for damaging wind gusts of over 75 miles, strong long-track tornadoes. And this is the area that was really affected last week at this time, and hail going to be part of this. And look at the wide expanse of wind advisories and wind warnings. 68 million people from Texas across the plains into the Midwest and all the way into the Southeast. And we're also looking at wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour, stretching from Kansas City all the way down to New Orleans. There is a derecho potential for tomorrow early morning through the evening. Now, what is a derecho? Here's what it is. It's a long-lived windstorm produced by a line of severe thunderstorms, damaging winds and problems of all sorts of damage for hundreds of miles, plus the potential for extensive, long-lasting power outages. So here's what we're looking at. To overnight, severe storms firing up in the plains starting tonight. These storms ramp up from Missouri on into southern Texas. Tomorrow, that derecho derecho could set up from all the way from Chicago down to New Orleans. That's 900 miles. This thing could travel 250 miles. On Thursday, scattered strong storms likely make their way into the mid-Atlantic with heavy rain making its way through the southeast. And then on Thursday, we're talking 21 million people from the Delmarva Peninsula all the way down to the panhandle of Florida. Damaging wind, isolated tornadoes as well possible. Rainfall, Hallie, we're talking some places 3 to 4 inches. We could be looking at flash flooding stretching from parts of the southeast all the way into the Central Plains. And if that's not enough, we still have that fire weather problem. We've been seeing fires popping up, wildfires popping up because of the dry air, because of these strong winds. There could be a significant wildfire outbreak, especially from northern Texas into central Kansas. So we're going to be watching this very, very closely. Also parts of Oklahoma as well. I mean, we've got everything from fire, ice, rain, tornadoes, and everything in between over the next 72 hours.
Yeah, it's all of it, and it's at the end of March, too, Al. Al Roker, I know you got eyes on everything. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll look for more from you tomorrow morning on Today. President Biden, just in the last hour, making history at the White House, signing a bill into law that makes lynching a federal hate crime. Watch.
The law is not just about the past. It's about the present and our future as well. Racial hate isn't an old problem. It's a persistent problem.
The legislation is named for Emmett Till, who was 14 and visiting family in Mississippi in 1955 when he was kidnapped, beaten, and killed for allegedly whistling at a white woman. 2 white men were tried for the murder but were acquitted. They later told a reporter they kidnapped and killed Emmett Till. His death becoming a civil rights rallying cry. The law, named the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, carries with it a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Tremaine Lee joins us now. And Tremaine, this is an historic moment.
That's right. It really is, Hallie. And we've all heard the saying that, you know, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And if that is true, it's built on the backs of folks like Emmett Till and the thousands of other people, literally thousands of other people who have been lynched without ever receiving justice in this country. And so to have this legislation signed into law, bearing Emmett Till's name, for many people, that is a sign that he will now not just represent, you know, the victim side of the worst of America, but also represent justice moving forward. And so this is certainly an historic day. And remember, his family has been carrying this burden for nearly 70 years, right? The burden and ache of his kidnapping and murder. But now to see his name on that legislation, it's a light for so many people. Hallie.
And I know you talked with, I think, Emmett Till's cousin, right? Tell me what this means for the family.
That's right. It seems like it happened so long ago, but there are living relatives of Emmett Till. I spoke with the Reverend Wheeler Parker, who was actually there the night that he was kidnapped. And he said, again, even though this is a moment that shines a bright light on the legacy of Emmett Till, there is still so far to go. Hallie, let's take a listen.
Laws make you behave better, but it doesn't legislate the heart. I drive on the highway, the law says 55, but in my heart, I got to drive faster than 55. So that spirit is still out there. But now, you know, I know if I drive over 55, I could be what? Handled.
Laws can't legislate the heart. You know, Hallie, that is kind of concerning given the state of where we are. But we think back to 55 years ago when Emmett Till was killed, just how different a world we live in. But in so many ways, how the strands of what we've existed with since then, you know, remain troubling. But again, this is a very historic day. The family says that they are pleased that it was finally signed. But again, Hallie, it took 200 times for this legislation to be introduced for it finally to pass.
Tremaine Lee, it's important reporting. I'm so glad you're here to bring it to us. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. But now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, British police have fined 20 people over those parties thrown by Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his staff during COVID lockdown. But you know who's not one of those 20 people? Boris Johnson. His office has not been punished yet, but says it'll pay up if fined for its role in that whole Partygate scandal that emerged a few weeks ago. Number 2, Queen Elizabeth making a public appearance today for the first time in 5 months. There she is, for a memorial service honoring her late husband, Prince Philip. She was escorted by her son, Prince Andrew. It was his first public appearance, too, since he settled a sexual assault lawsuit against him earlier this month. He still denies those allegations. Number 3, Travis Scott accused now of violating a gag order connecting to lawsuits from that Astroworld concert where 10 people were killed, hundreds more were hurt. Lawyers for some of the victims say the rapper is looking to sway public opinion before a trial after announcing a $5 million initiative for safety at events like music festivals. But Scott's attorney says that doesn't violate anything. Number 4, Spotify has rolled out a COVID content advisory feature for podcasts. This is after a whole bunch of musicians boycotted the platform for keeping the Joe Rogan Experience, the podcast that's been accused of spreading vaccine misinformation. The new feature links users to an informational hub if they're listening to something that mentions COVID. Number 5, if you're applying to MIT, you're going to have to take the SAT or the ACT. Incoming students will have to take one of those tests again if they want in. This comes almost 2 years after the school did away with the requirement because of the pandemic. Now it's back. MIT's dean says the tests will help build a more diverse and talented school. Still, coming up on this show, federal COVID money running out, and uninsured patients are feeling the effects of it already. What you should know if you need a test or a treatment. Plus, Ukrainians are looking for safety wherever they can find it. And it's taken a toll on their mental health. We'll take you to Poland next to explain. Have you heard about this? Women closing the gender pay gap in some of the biggest cities in the country. We'll tell you where they're actually getting paid more than men for the same job a little later in the show. But first, the Surgeon General is now pushing to get this $22 billion pandemic relief plan over the finish line in Congress. He's got this new op-ed out in the New York Times today saying if the money isn't approved, we as a country will be struggling to keep up with a constantly evolving virus that he says will keep threatening our health, our economy, and our peace of mind. The Biden administration says it might run out of money to buy enough booster shots. That's a problem, right? Since we told you at the top, the CDC has just greenlit more boosters for people ages 50 and older. So what is the context check here? Are we really at risk of running out of money for things like tests and shots? NBC's Vaughn Hilliard explains.
As questions about a potential new COVID surge in America linger, the federal government's money to cover the cost of COVID care for uninsured Americans has dried up.
You need to be compensated for the care that you provide. And so this is a risk as we move forward. Hospitals do not have the margin to really absorb this.
The federal emergency relief funds to cover the cost of hospital treatment for uninsured COVID patients, as well as COVID testing, expiring last week.
I would urge the president and Congress to find funds to continue the safety net that's provided to make sure that people have access to care when they need it so that they can get those boosters, so that they can get testing.
The federal government posting a notice to healthcare providers the last week its COVID-19 uninsured program stopped accepting claims for testing and treatment due to lack of sufficient funds. And coverage for vaccine administration will end next week on April 5th. The federal government saying it will also stop accepting vaccination claims. In the last 2 years, the relief programs have paid healthcare providers $11.3 billion for testing, $5.8 billion for treatment claims, and $1.6 billion for administering vaccines to the uninsured. One of those hospital systems, Valleywise Health in Arizona. It received $3 million in federal money for care and another $700,000 to cover testing expenses.
Many of these folks come in very, very ill and have a long extended length of hospital stay, and require a lot of resources.
The hospital this week now charging uninsured patients for their treatment and tests.
Do you feel like your hospital system has been put in a tough situation to essentially offer care versus charge because there's a lack of funding coming in from the federal government anymore?
My greatest fear here is we see these funding sources dry up, that people do not have access to things that we know have helped us.
2 weeks ago, the White House's budget office sent a letter to congressional leaders with a warning that failing to provide additional funding for the COVID response now will leave us unequipped to deal with a future surge.
We're going to continue to use all the resources we have.
And on Monday, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, acknowledging the pending challenges.
We're going to stretch where we can, but there's no question if we don't get the resources that we need, we're just going to fall behind. And I don't think at a time when we're turning the page on this fight on COVID that we want to fall behind.
Vaughn Hilliard is joining us now here in Washington. It's great to see you, Vaughn, in person. So listen, some of this, right? I mean, the White House is clearly trying to ramp up the pressure on Congress, right? And put this pressure campaign in place to try to get them to get this relief package passed.
Right.
Is it going to happen? Like, how do you handicap it?
Just this afternoon, Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said that he talked with Republican Senator Mitt Romney. This is big because essentially Democrats, like they've been trying to do for the last 2 years, he needs to convince 10 Republicans to come on board, because it was just earlier this month that Republicans essentially were successful in eliminating the replenishing of these COVID dollars here. They said that there needs to be a better public accounting of how past pandemic dollars were spent, but also to make sure this new money was offset here. So when does that happen, though? That's a big question mark. Again, because these past funds have already run out.
So Senator Schumer talked with Senator Romney, but Senator Romney is just one Republican, not 10.
You got to get 9 others. 9 others.
Think they will?
That's a big question mark here. Of course, in the House, Speaker Pelosi has been vocal on this, and you've heard now from the president. And now the question here is whether they can get those other 10 Republicans on board.
Vaughn Hilliard, great reporting. Good to see you.
You too, my friend.
Thank you very much for bringing that to us. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at the impact the war in Ukraine is having on the mental health of some of these refugee families who are trying to pick up the pieces of their lives and get something going in a different country, right, in a country nearby. Our team on the ground visited one mental health center in Poland that has taken in 400 Ukrainian refugees, including 200 kids. Many of those kids have special needs, autism or schizophrenia, while others are dealing with trauma and PTSD after escaping Ukraine. The United Nations today says nearly 4 million refugees have left the country since the invasion started, and about half of them have gone to Poland to resettle. The others have gone to places like Romania, Moldova, Hungary. Josh Letterman is joining us now from Warsaw. And Josh, you know, there's when a war happens and that is so horrific as the one that we are seeing now in Ukraine, there are so many angles and pieces of it to cover. But mental health is one of those angles, right? That is a piece of this that is very real for some of these refugees who are experiencing unimaginable trauma and grief at this moment. Talk to us about this visit to this facility, what you saw and what they're doing.
Yeah, well, the problems that people face in life don't put on pause just because you're in the middle of a war, Hallie. And so today we visited a center for medical, psychological care for Ukrainian refugees that started out not designed to be for that, but simply to be a place to house Ukrainian refugees. But something very interesting happened after this facility was filled up with about 400 refugees, half of them children. They started noticing that so many of the parents and children who were there were dealing with special needs issues. As you mentioned, autism, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder are really significant problems that predated their time leaving Ukraine, but certainly have not gotten any better as a result of it. And then there were others who, even as they were in Poland, were starting to firsthand experience the effects of PTSD, of the trauma that they faced, especially the children, from hiding out in bomb shelters where their houses were being shelled. Oftentimes, according to the social workers that we spoke to today, it takes 3 or 4 weeks for that to kick in. And so a lot of these kids showed up just starting to go into crisis and actually had to be taken out of the normal routine to be given a chance to cool down, and for workers here to figure out exactly what they need and how best to treat them. And one of the fascinating things that we're seeing here in Poland is that there are volunteers showing up, psychiatrists, social workers, therapists, to help these Ukrainian refugees. These medical professionals, many of them are refugees themselves from Ukraine, also from Belarus and Russia, but they are here helping Ukrainian refugees as they are struggling with immense stress that is only compounded by their mental health challenges.
Can you tell me more about the conversations that you had with some of these families?
Yeah, I mean, it was so profound to hear from them. First of all, how grateful they are to be in a place where they can feel basic safety, but also the fact that this is not a new normal for them. They were not intending to pick up their lives and start over somewhere else. And so while they are trying to balance their gratitude for being somewhere where they can put their head to sleep at night without bombs falling, they're also hoping upon hope that they're going to be able to get back, especially to their families who they left behind. And I want you to hear from one of them. She's a 70-year-old grandmother. She came with her daughter and her baby granddaughter, who is now spending her first year of life as a refugee. Take a listen. What is it like to be raising your grandchild here in this center?
Actually, it's quite nice because it's not sitting in the Ukraine under the bombing and the rockets with a small kid, so small. So it's better here because they can sleep well without any scare about safetyness.
And Hallie, we saw a long line of women refugees lined up at this facility today to get identification numbers, the equivalent of Social Security numbers, because they don't want to just sit here idly while they are out of their own homes. They want to get jobs. They want to get bank accounts. They want to be able to function like normal human beings and be able to care for their families the way they did in Ukraine. They all tell us that they are grateful for what's happening, but they are eager to get their lives back on track. Hallie?
Josh Letterman, thank you so much for bringing us that story. I appreciate it. Coming up here after the break, the dramatic rescue of a dog stranded in a river for almost 2 hours. Look at that pup. We got that coming up in the local. And the NFL working to try to make sure women and people of color get more opportunities for top jobs. Why it may be a game changer for the league. Next. We know some people can scroll for hours on TikTok, but now some doctors are saying teen girls, some of them are actually developing tics from using the app too much. We're going to explain that in just a minute. But first, NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day. And because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Southeast Bureau, a brush fire forced dozens of people out of their homes in Oklahoma City. Look at this. At least 30 houses were evacuated, one of them damaged. Firefighters are trying to stop this thing from spreading, but they say the winds, the warmer temperatures could make things worse. From our West Coast Bureau, rescue crews went all in to save this stranded pup in the LA River. Somehow the dog and its owner got into the water. Firefighters got the owner out, but then look, the dog is like, what are we doing here, gang? I don't know. A bystander actually jumped into the river, managed to get a hold of the pup before rescuers got both of them out safely. Oh man, glad he's okay. And from our Northeast Bureau, a black bear caught on camera making itself right at home inside this house in New Hampshire. A couple says the 400-pound bear got stuck inside their porch for like 45 minutes. That is a real mess right there. Eventually, they managed to push the door open so that the bear could leave. And wouldn't you know it, those homeowners say that's the worst house guest they've ever had. Gender pay gap still exists, but guess what? New research shows at least 22 places in this country where women are making the same, if not more, than men in the same job. The Pew Research Center analysis of census data finds women under 30, so we're talking about younger women here, are on equal footing in big cities like San Diego, New York, and D.C. But smaller cities actually show the highest earnings. Barnstabletown, Massachusetts, and Morgantown, West Virginia made the top three where salaries top that of the men. And it's Wenatchee, Washington, where women get paid up to 20% more than men. Experts say it's probably a couple of factors coming together: higher education, more pay equity laws, and more demands from some of these younger women. Turning now to this other story, the NFL moving to even things out on diversity, or trying to. Starting next season, this new rule says every team has to have a woman or a person of color as an offensive assistant coach. The reason? Those are the coaches who are most likely to move up to head coaching jobs. Since 2009, nearly 40% of head coaches hired were former offensive coordinators. And at least 77% of these offensive coordinators each season have been white. So the goal is to try to increase the diversity in that pool. It's an expansion of the league's Rooney Rule that before had only required teams to interview candidates of color or women for head coaching jobs and executive positions. Steve Patterson joins me now. So, Steve, you know, the NFL is basically going from you have to interview somebody to you have to hire someone. This feels like it's a big step.
Big deal, no doubt about it. This is real, actionable, systemic change that puts minorities and women into a pipeline of having a more prominent role in the NFL. That's big. However, this is another amendment to the Rooney Rule, which you just mentioned, which has been around since 2003, Hallie. That comes from the administration level of the NFL. and not the owners themselves. And since its inception, the owners, who have historically been mostly all white males, have been criticized for finding every possible way to sidestep or nullify that rule to put in the people that they want to put in. So if the ultimate goal is by now essentially creating what amounts to a fellowship, is to have a more diverse pool of head coaches over the next decade, I think most critics see this as a wait and see, because the NFL record so far has not been good at all, but still a positive first step.
But I have to ask, when I hear this, and when we're talking about the Rooney Rule these days in the NFL, I think people sometimes think to what the other big story that happened in just recently, which was this major lawsuit from the former Miami Dolphins coach, Brian Flores. He alleged discrimination, right? The head of the NFL Players Association at the time said, basically acknowledged the Rooney Rule had turned into more of a suggestion. Is this a response to that? Do you know what I mean, Steve? Like, is there a connection between A and B?
Absolutely. I mean, so this is saying that, yeah, you have to have minorities or women on staff instead of filling those interview quotas for those positions, as you mentioned. But it again gets at what has really been the primary criticism of the NFL in its effort to make positive changes, that the league is entirely reactionary to problems really of its own making, rather than taking proactive steps to address issues that have been around for decades. And again, it goes back to the fact that out of 32 teams, 30 of them are run by this executive club of, frankly, white owners who make all of the executive decisions at a higher level than the league itself, where 70% of the players are minorities. So a lot of experts say until the owner's box or the front office of some of these teams changes, we're still in this cycle of problem, Band-Aid, problem, Band-Aid, problem, continuing for the foreseeable future.
While I have you, and while we're talking football, can I ask you about something else, Steve?
Sure.
Potpourri with the NFL today, as you know, as an interested Philadelphia Eagles observer and fan, the NFL changed the playoff OT rules, so each team has to get a possession. This is interesting. Like, a lot of fans are having a lot of reaction to this, right?
I'm so stoked about this. I think it is about time. And I think this is expected.
It takes it out of the hands of the coin flip. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's expected after remember, this is huge backlash that we had just a few months ago. Fans are still losing their minds after the Chiefs beat the Bills in overtime, which went on to determine a lot about what happened in the playoffs. Both teams scoring 4 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of regulation. So over the course of whoever gets the ball in overtime is going to win that game. And in fact, in the last 12 overtime games in the postseason, the team that wins the coin toss wins the game 10 out of the last 12 times. Right. So professional football should not be decided by a coin toss. College football has been doing this for generations. I think it's the more pure game, and I'm glad to see the NFL adopting the regulation.
I'm so glad we gave you a platform to air that, Steve. I appreciate that you appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Well, I can sure appreciate that, friend. Thank you so much. They're going Kelly Green, by the way. That's the rumor next year. All right, Steve, thank you very much. Turning now to some serious news coming out of the FBI and this new warning that teen boys are being targeted to send sexually explicit pictures of themselves and then demanding money from them. Our Jesse Kirsch has more on this so-called sextortion scheme.
A stark warning from the FBI saying possibly hundreds of American children are being trapped by predators every week without realizing they're becoming victims.
The criminal is not motivated at all by a sexual desire for additional images. Their true and only motivation is money.
Supervisory Special Agent Barbara Smith runs the Washington Field Office's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. She says in recent months her team's seen a spike of what's known as sextortion, where predators convince children to send explicit images of themselves and then threaten to share the material unless the kids pay up. The FBI shows us how sextortion can appear innocent at first. 2 children start chatting, maybe on social media or while gaming. But one of the kids is actually an adult, who authorities say often pretends to be a young girl, tricking teenage boys into doing something explicit as the predator records in secret. That's when the FBI says predators reveal the truth, threatening to blast the vulnerable images to the world unless the victims hand over money. Authorities say reports of these cash-centric demands are becoming more frequent, quote, increasing exponentially, they believe, as the pandemic has forced more social interaction online.
The financial losses are terrible, but the emotional toll this takes on children is pretty high.
The FBI says many of the victims are 14 to 17-year-old boys, but some young men are also being targeted.
This pretty girl befriends you on the internet. She sends you a video of a sexual act. And as a young man, teenage boy, it's very difficult to resist the urge to reciprocate.
If children do fall victim, there's a good chance they'll hide it. The FBI saying the number of cases is severely underreported because of teen shame. And the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children warns the consequences can be devastating.
We've seen reports come in where children are very depressed, suicidal. There have been cases of sextortion where children have taken their own lives.
So what can children and parents do to protect themselves? The FBI says be skeptical of people you meet online, especially if they suggest moving to another platform. Remember, just because somebody sends you a video or photo doesn't mean that's who they really are. And always be careful about what personal information or images you share.
You want to try to remove some of those barriers and really create that environment where if your child does find themselves as a victim, that they feel comfortable coming to you.
Our Jesse Kirsch with that reporting. That does it for us this hour. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to have more for you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.